Good morning. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending this morning in person as well as online. Today, we have taken another important step in our bid to make online gambling safer for Albertans while capturing revenue that is currently being lost to unregulated and illicit sites. It is the culmination of lots of hard work that my department and I have done over the last 2 years. Back in 2023, when oversight of Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis, or AGLC, was transferred to my department, Premier Smith directed me to finish developing and implementing Alberta's iGaming strategy with a focus on responsible gaming and provincial and Indigenous revenue generation. As you know, Play Alberta is Alberta's only regulated gaming platform. It launched in the fall of 2020 and it's operated by AGLC. Play Alberta is an excellent platform balancing fun with social responsibility, and it's been very successful. In fact, last year, Play Alberta generated $235 million in net sales, an increase of more than $42 million from 2022-23. These revenues contributed to the $1.5 billion in total gaming revenue that is sent to Alberta's General Revenue Fund, where it can be used to support important programs and services that Albertans rely on. It's not a small figure, and we applaud AGLC for their work in building and growing Play Alberta in a responsible way. However, we are seeing unregulated actors creep into our marketplace, many of which are located outside of the province and even outside of Canada. And we know that unregulated sites may not provide protections for their players in terms of social responsibility or consumer protection. And we want to change that. We want to make sure that these sites are safer for Albertans who choose to use them. Even though we know gambling is an inherently risky activity and we can never make it entirely safe. However, this will not stop us from making iGaming as safe as we can. And listen, I'm not going to try to dodge the obvious point here. Right now, without a regulated market, we are losing out on revenue being generated by unregulated operators. In fact, it's going straight out of Alberta and often out of the country. This is revenue that could be reinvested into our province to benefit all Albertans. But let me make this clear. Our iGaming strategy is not about revenue generation. It's not a cash grab, and we're not doing this with the aim to grow the market. Our goal is to reduce the size and scope of the illicit market by channeling unregulated operators into a regulated market where they are regulated, where consumers are protected, and gambling safety is top of mind. To put it another way, we want Albertans who choose to gamble online to have the same kind of protections they have when they go to casinos, or they buy 50-50, or dream home tickets, or play bingo. Again, to repeat my earlier point, we know that no form of gambling is truly safe, but we can help make it safer by making sure it comes with key social responsibility tools. At the risk of getting too far ahead of myself, I am happy to let you know that one of the protections we will be bringing to the market is a centralized self-exclusion platform. This platform will provide online gamblers who want to take a break from gambling with the ability to block or exclude themselves from being able to access online gambling sites, just as Albertans who choose to gamble on Play Alberta or at Alberta's casinos and racing entertainment centers can exclude themselves from gambling at those places too. All thanks to the excellent program already in place with AGLC. The work on our strategy really kicked into high gear last year when we met with racing, entertainment center operators, and First Nations to discuss what a possible iGaming model could look like. Their input was valuable, and we thank them for it. And it helped to develop the legislative framework that I'm introducing today. If approved, the iGaming Alberta Act will be the first step towards implementing the province's iGaming strategy. With it, we will create a new provincial corporation called the Alberta iGaming Corporation to conduct and manage operations in the private iGaming market. We would also designate AGLC as Alberta's iGaming regulator and establish appropriate government oversight to support the integrity of the market. Let me just pause here to acknowledge the elephant in the room. As the Minister of Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction, I always get asked about red tape and the creation of new regulations or new regulatory bodies. But let's be clear. Red tape is by definition regulatory requirements that are unnecessary or redundant. With iGaming, as with the liquor and cannabis sectors, if we're going to open a private marketplace, we need regulatory oversight to make sure that all those operators are acting responsibly. And perhaps more importantly, all Albertans are protected. As I mentioned, we know that unregulated sites pose higher risks in terms of providing weaker consumer protections and not necessarily upholding social responsibility, especially for vulnerable groups and those experiencing gambling-related harms. That's why we're requiring iGaming operators to register, to be able to operate in Alberta, and to follow important regulations which will be set out in policy, standard, and regulation later this year. That's not red tape. That's responsible regulation because it will help to ensure that Albertans who choose to gamble online are better protected. So there you have it. Once again, I want to say how proud I am to be able to introduce the first step of our iGaming strategy today. We have worked hard to set up the infrastructure to strike a balance between increasing consumer choice by opening up Alberta's regulated iGaming market while also taking steps to ensure our standards for social responsibility and public safety are met. More details on the regulations and specific social responsibility policies will be shared later this year, following further consultation with our Indigenous partners and industry stakeholders. But the bill tabled today, if passed, marks the first important step in implementing Alberta's iGaming strategy to create a legislative framework that establishes the organizational structure, authorities, and other supporting provisions necessary to move forward with Alberta's open, regulated market. I would be happy to take any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're now going to take questions from the media. So once you're called on, please state your name, outlet, and keep it to one question and follow-up. I see a bunch of you have your hands up. So we're going to go to Chelan first, then we're going to go to Matthew.
Yeah, Chelan Skolsky with CTV News Edmonton. I'm wondering about revenues. In the tech briefing, we learned that currently Play Alberta only captures about 45% of that market. So given that you could see these revenues double, it sounds like a lot of money could be generated through this. Where do you intend to spend that money? Are you planning on setting a set amount that would go towards some of those responsible and safety measures, particularly around gambling addiction?
That's a great question, and I can tell you that there is no light between myself and my colleagues when it comes to putting the safety of Albertans first. So we will absolutely be making those commitments. In terms of dollars and cents and how much we'll be investing, I can't answer those questions now. It's just too early in the game, but we will absolutely be putting those measures in place. And the commitment that I've given my colleagues is that any Albertan that struggles with gambling-related behaviors, we will take care of them just like we do with any Alberta that is struggling with addiction.
Is it safe to say that that set measure would be set out in regulations? And did you say, is there a specific date on when we might be able to see what those regulations are?
I don't have a date for you. It'll be a combination of regulation as well as policy. I can't give you a date. We're doing the legislation today, and then if the legislation passes, I don't want to preclude that what will happen. Then we'll build out the regulations. We have to create the Alberta iGaming Corporation. So when I have more to say in that regard, I'll absolutely share it with you.
Go ahead, Matthew, and then following Matthew, we'll go to Sean.
Thanks. Matthew with the Journal. As Shayla mentioned, we heard in the tech briefing that around half of bettors in the province now like to use those gray market sites. They offer, probably because they offer a better experience, more options. What's the plan to maybe upgrade Play Alberta to improve that and compete with those sites to get those gamblers that they want?
Well, the focus of this is not about upgrading Play Alberta. The focus of this is to have an open and free market for iGaming to offer more competition. And we believe that that is going to improve the experience for the player. And we believe by having a better experience for the player, in addition to a safer experience and a more responsible experience, we believe that that value proposition is what Albertans are going to respond to. The best way to deal with the illicit market is to have a strong, regulated, responsible legal market.
Have you guys thought about limiting potentially celebrity endorsements of gambling like we saw in Ontario?
Well, those are conversations that we haven't had yet, but we will be having those later on. Once we've built up the corporation, we've written the regulations, then we're going to be having a conversation about advertising and endorsements. Yeah.
Hi, Sean with City News. You must have some estimate on what kind of revenue this could generate. I think in Ontario it's $2.2 billion. So we're looking at probably hundreds of millions of dollars additional for Alberta. Can you just give us a sense of what that might look like?
You listen, the challenge is it's hard to put a number on it. AGLC has done a study, and this is our most empirical data that we have, and they figure Play Alberta has about 45% of the market right now. And I think the last report that we saw, that Play Alberta generated $235 million in profit. But anecdotally, I hear that it may not even be 45% of the market that they have. I'm hearing it could be even larger than that. So the reality is, we're not going to be able to put a number on it because we don't know how big it is, and we're not going to know that until we actually go live.
When do you think this will happen? When can I go on my phone and legally regulated do the Bet 365 or whatever people want to do?
So again, I'm reluctant to put a date on it. We're doing the legislation first reading today. If that passes, it'll be followed by the regulations that we'll be writing. We'll be standing up the Alberta iGaming Corporation. So I'm reluctant to put a date on it, but it'll be later on this year or even early next year. Yeah,
That'll be operational.
That'll be operational. In the interim, you can use Play Alberta today. That is currently the only legal regulated space that you can make online bets in Alberta.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Don't you think that this is gonna create more gamblers, more gambling addiction?
Listen, this is not about bringing online gambling to the province of Alberta. It's already here. And those behaviors that you mentioned, they're already present. And all the revenue that's being generated is leaving the province. If we can capture those revenues, if we can repatriate some of those dollars back into Alberta, we'll have the funds to be able to help and support Albertans. So the reality is that online gambling is alive and well in this province. And so all that we're trying to do, and I want to be clear, online gambling, as in all gambling, will never be safe. But we can make it safer. We can make it a little more responsible, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Okay.
And did you learn anything from Ontario? Because they were like basically 2 or 3 years in front of us in that journey. So did you learn anything?
Yeah, listen, I think Ontario has done a great job of creating a regulated format, of having a more responsible space for player gambling. I think they've done a great job. If there was one thing that I think we could do better, is to go live on day one with centralized self-exclusion. And I've heard directly from Albertans who have struggled with problematic gambling behaviors and specifically online, and they've chosen to stop gambling. They've canceled their accounts, and some of these sites, which are quite repugnant, continue to market to them. They continue to email them and send them deposit bonuses and whatnot. And that's the kind of activity that is not going to happen in a regulated safe space. So our commitment is, on day one, there will be system-wide self-exclusion, where you will push a button and you won't be able to play on any of the online regulated spaces. That will include land-based casinos as well as racing entertainment centers.
Okay, just a reminder, please introduce yourself for the record. Go ahead, Jack.
Jack Farrell with Canadian Press. I wanted to ask more about, obviously like online gaming already is here, but I don't have to tell you that it's growing. Like even Play Alberta, like in the annual report, they saw a 28% increase in signups just in the last, annual report. So I guess I'm curious at how much risk you see in, because Ontario's example, like they introduced the legislation, they saw 70 to 80 companies sign up to register. I'm assuming that means it's easier to access, right? So like certainly there's a risk that more people will, fall into what could be very harmful behavior here, right?
Well, I would push back on saying that it was easier to register when Ontario went legal, because you could pull out your phone right now and within 5 minutes you could make a deposit and be gambling. And so making it regulated, making it more responsible or safer does not make it easier. And let's suppose that we don't proceed with this. Let's suppose this legislation doesn't pass. That won't stop online gambling from continuing to grow. So what this is going to do is this is going to put us in a place where we can have a regulated, safe space for Albertans to place their bets. And I want to be clear, if you don't gamble today, I don't want you to start gambling tomorrow. But if you do gamble online, I believe that we have a fiduciary responsibility to make it as safe and as responsible as possible.
And then as a follow-up, I'm honestly confused why the new Crown Corp is needed. So because like the materials that we send says AGLC will still collect revenue, they'll still be the regulator. So like, what is the new Crown Corp actually going to do?
The purpose of the Crown Corporation is to conduct and manage gaming. And that meets the criminal code requirement so that we can participate in this space, is the government has to demonstrate that they can conduct and manage. And what we've seen as a best practice is separating the regulation from the conduct and manage piece. And so that's what we're going to be doing. They did it like,
mean?
well, government has to demonstrate that they can conduct and manage iGaming. And so we've seen in Ontario that they do that separately as well. So IGO actually conducts and manages. So we're going to have a similar corporation to offer the conduct and manage piece of online gaming, and it's going to be separate from the regulatory piece.
Okay, go ahead, Catherine.
Sure, Catherine Gurkowski, Alberta Today. So how do you plan to enforce these gray market players or these offshore that aren't going to sign up and play by the rules?
So to be clear, there's really there's three markets. There's the Play Alberta, which is the only legal space right now. Then there's the gray, and then there's the black illicit market. The gray market operators actually want to be legal. They actually want to be regulated. And so it's a simple case of if you build it, they will come. And we know this because they told us that. So we anticipate that the gray market will embrace this because they want to be legal. The issue is the black market operators. These are the ones that I will refer to as repugnant. These are the ones that will continue to market and send you deposit bonuses after you've quit their site.
Yeah, so I guess my question then was black market, how do you plan to enforce those who aren't playing by the rules? And then second question, Matthew had mentioned advertising. It is very pervasive. You can't watch a hockey game with your kid without getting blasted by it. It's even in game, in between periods, there's programming. Will you be making any changes to advertising rules?
Well, those are questions that we will answer once we get to that the space. We're not there yet. So the answer to your question is yes. I can say the reason that we're being inundated with this advertising is, and I'm going to be very political right now. We have a federal government that has spent more time focusing on fighting plastic straws, and they have repugnant gambling sites. And so this advertise, and because illicit sites can advertise. They're on television. They're on the NHL. We can't stop that. I wish the federal government would step in and leverage some of their authority with the CRTC to stop the illicit market from advertising. I would like that. And hopefully a new government would look at doing that. But we will bring forward our own slate of responsible advertising measures that anyone who's part of our site will have to subscribe to. But to be clear, this will not stop the repugnant sites from advertising.
Okay, we're gonna head to the phones. So operator, can you please put through the first caller?
Your first question is from Sebastian Nemeth from Radio Canada. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you for doing this. Minister, can you be more specific about that self-exclusion system? Because, I mean, if someone, for example, is addicted to gambling, it's going to be very hard for that person to sign in.
Sorry, well, I'm not sure that I completely understand your question. We're going to have system-wide self-exclusion in place, and it's going to be very simple. That it's going to be as simple as if you're on that site, you just have to hit the button, and you'll be that will exclude you from all online regulated spaces, including land-based casinos and regulated and racing entertainment centers.
And a follow-up?
What's your point to convince those the industry to embark in this new regulation?
Well, the industry actually those in the gray market want to play and operate in a regulated legal marketplace, and we've met with them, and they've told us, if you create a legal, regulated space, then they will join it. So we know that there are responsible operators that want to be part of a safer, more responsible gambling ecosystem. And we know that there's illicit operators that don't want to. So it's important that we get this set up so that the responsible operators can participate in the marketplace, can sign up for the system-wide self-exclusion, which will be compulsory in this space.
All right, operator, are there any other questions on the line?
Your next question is from Tristan Oram from St. Alberta Gazette. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of following up on that last question with the self-exclusion system. Like, so it's as easy as pressing a button to exclude yourself from online platforms and casinos, but like, if somebody's addicted, could they as easily unexclude themselves, I suppose? Can you go into a bit more detail on how that works?
So right now with Play Alberta, if you self-exclude with Play Alberta, and you have a choice, you can self-exclude for 12 months if you just need a cooling off period, or you can make it longer, but you cannot change it once you've self-excluded. So you will not have the opportunity to go back and say, you know what, I changed my mind. If you opt to push the system-wide self-exclusion button, you cannot change your mind.
And a follow-up?
Yeah, and then just maybe a little bit more detail on what the makeup of the iGaming Corporation board might look like.
It's going to be, the board will be 7 people, including the chair, and we will appoint the board as we would any agency or regulatory body, and they will then they'll be responsible for putting the executive in place.
All right, seeing no other callers on the line, that concludes today's press conference. Just as a reminder for everybody, this information is under embargo until the bill is tabled around 3 p.m.
Okay, thanks, everybody.